Welcome to our show. You're listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections, a place to learn about and celebrate creative arts therapy. Each week, we'll explore new ways that music, art, and dance can reach, connect with, and help individuals of all stages of health and wellness. Hi, I'm Bree, Beynon, a board-certified music therapist and the managing partner for the Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute. Tune in as I interview professionals from healthcare and educational backgrounds on the impact of the creative arts. If you prefer to watch our live video stream, simply visit www.pbmti.com. Hello, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're listening to and watching Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. I'm your host, Bree Beynon, board-certified music therapist and neurologic music therapist, working locally here in Southeast Florida with the Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute. If you're new to this show, thank you so much for listening in and joining us tonight. Our goal is to shine a light on the creative approaches to healthcare and education that are happening here in our community and beyond throughout the nation and throughout the world. We are lucky to have joining us today a local art therapist working here at our West Palm Beach VA Medical Center. Sarah Windrum is a board-certified art therapist as well as a licensed mental health counselor. And she's going to be joining us in a little bit to talk about, in her own words, what is art therapy? What are ways that she uses art to address the needs of the military populations, and also talk about some really exciting things that are going on in our local VA, one of them being the Creative Arts Festival, which is happening next week, featuring the artwork, music, and other creative expressions of veterans, of local veterans, and then that is going into a festival. It's going to be judged and then have winners emerge from that after they've shown their creative arts, which is awesome. What a great opportunity for them to express themselves and to connect with one another as well. So we're going to be talking to Sarah in a little bit. She works very closely with Shoshana, who we had on the show a couple months ago, the music therapist at the West Palm Beach VA. And we talked about then the really strong connections between the field of music therapy and the military. And so just to back up a little bit as a little review about the history there, back in the 40s and 50s, after World War I and II, and soldiers were coming back and were being admitted to VA hospitals for whatever the condition may be. A lot of volunteer musicians were going into the hospitals to play, sing, to cheer up the veterans, to bring a little joy into their day, which it did. And in addition to that, the medical staff started noticing there's some real significant benefits going on here. There's decreased depression, decreased pain stimulus. People are coming out of their rooms when they weren't before. This is wonderful. This is great, but we need to get these individuals trained before they can come into a hospital setting and be administering treatment now, which was being considered treatment because it was having these positive benefits. And so that's when our first college program started. Because of the recognition from the military and the VA hospitals. And since that time, we now have 73 universities throughout the United States, 3 here locally in Florida at University of Miami, FSU, up in Tallahassee, and a brand new program at Florida Gulf Coast University over in Naples, with undergraduate, graduate, doctorate, and postdoc level programs in music therapy. And again, there's 73 throughout the nation. There's over 6,000 music therapists now, board-certified music therapists, with over 250 here locally in Florida. And as we've talked about on the show several times, Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade County, some of the counties that have the largest concentration of music therapists in the state of Florida. So we're really lucky to have that. But again, it goes back to that strong relationship with the military, which we always honor back. Most VAs, it might be all, I don't know, but most VAs that I know of do have a strong music therapy program, which is just wonderful because it certainly isn't a majority of hospitals in general that have them, although it's growing in the hospital setting. I think the latest article that came out on that was the top 10 hospitals rated in the U.S. did have a music therapy program, but a majority of VA medical centers do. This is from a fact sheet from our national organization's website, the AMTA, American Music Therapy Association. Their website is musictherapy.org. And there, if you're interested in learning more about music therapy in specific populations, this is a fact sheet that they made in 2014 specifically about music therapists working in the military. It says here, while many individuals exposed to trauma follow a normal or typical course of recovery from acute stress reactions and acute stress disorder, some develop post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, with delayed onset, or PTSD with delayed onset. The signature injuries of recent wars include post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injury, major depressive polytrauma, and a whole host of complicating diagnoses such as substance abuse, family conflict, and suicide risk. The prevalence of PTSD among the 1.7 million service members deployed under Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom is estimated to be about 15%. Among America's veterans of earlier conflicts, including the Vietnam War, the incidence of cases is large. In order to support service members and their families in prevention, wellness, and recovery, music therapists are qualified professionals who possess the skills and abilities to determine appropriate interventions to support resilience and recovery. Furthermore, music therapists are an integral part of the treatment teams in the context of interdisciplinary services. So that's just a small kind of excerpt from that fact sheet. But what I like about it is it really details the need for someone to be trained, to be credentialed working in this population. So if you listen to the show regularly, you've heard me talk over the last several weeks about our piece of legislation that is up in Tallahassee, at least for the next week or so while session is active. And that is our registry bill that we're hoping to get passed. And what that would do would create a professional registry for music therapists, board-certified music therapists in the state of Florida, to make sure that when you are hiring a music therapist to work in these very vulnerable settings, such as working with veterans with PTSD or traumatic brain injury, co-occurring substance abuse, or family conflict, that you know you're hiring someone who is trained with the ability to handle, to process through some of these things that are going on in individuals' lives. The fact that we use music, as Sarah uses art, and she'll talk in detail with, it's a great way to connect with people, to help them connect with us and others and express themselves. But in that, there are some really serious things that can come out of that in a way that it might not have been expressed through words or in another way. But people feel more comfortable at times expressing themselves through music, whether that's through songwriting or singing or playing an instrument or talking about song lyrics in a group setting. And I just wanted to share one incredible example of this. I'm going to introduce to you through a bio a veteran at the West Palm Beach VA Medical Center who we have permission to share his information and to share his story. This is just an incredible story about a young man who has found that using music has helped him express himself. And not only that, but his craft is so beautiful, and he gets a lot of pride from feeling that way, as he should. And we talked a little bit earlier about the Creative Arts Festival coming up next week. So what I'm going to share with you is a song that he wrote, and that's going to be entered into this festival next week. So before we share the song, I'll just give a little information, background information. Karoy Campbell, or KC, goes by his stage name, Young Mystic. He was born in Fort Lauderdale and grew up in Milford, Connecticut, and Boca Raton, Florida. His father is a reggae singer named Mystic Bowie, so music came somewhat naturally to him. He served in the Navy from 2010 to 2014 and was stationed in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, and San Diego. He was deployed to the Persian Gulf. When KC was first struggling with his mental health issues, he had a lot of thoughts going through his mind. And he had thought about the families portrayed in movies and TV shows like the Medea movies, the Johnson Family Reunion, and the Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins. In those shows, the families talk about their day at the dinner table and Casey wrote a song hoping for more connection with his family and wishing for a better family support for others in society. The chorus was inspired by a part of the Disney movie Lilo and Stitch, where they say Ohana means family. Casey used that as the chorus in his song. Casey has participated in 2 music therapy programs and knows how helpful music therapy can be. Music can get rid of steam whenever you are in a bad mood. It entertains me, gives me hope. It is one of the last things that cannot be taken away from me. And this is a bio provided by Shoshana Orejano, who is the music therapist at the VA. We spoke with a few months ago, so thank you, Shoshana, for sharing that. Thank you, Casey, for letting us share your story tonight. And without further ado, I'm so excited to share his song at this time.
If you ask me what Ohana means to me, I would tell you it's not gonna be perfect or happily ever after. But there would be a lot of joy, and there will be plenty of times for all of us to enjoy. From sickness to health, from poorness to wealth, we look out for each other, sisters and brothers, fathers and mothers, and all of the others. We forgive and we forget, we make up and we move on. We watch each other's backs even when it seems safe. We have each other's backs when one of us needs help. We go to each other's games, we go to each other's recitals. We read bedtime stories, we tuck each other in bed. We call each other up if we're far away from each other. We love each other dearly, we care for one another. We boost up each other's confidence to raise our self-esteem and tell each other we can make realities out of dreams. Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind or is forgotten. Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind or is forgotten. Ohana means you have a shoulder to cry on, that not one of us would find another to lie on, to step into each other's shoes, not just to try on, to take each other's places in our deathbeds to die on, to welcome each other with open arms receiving, to say it's possible, not seeing is believing, to encourage one another when we are grieving, to give one of us that's in pain something relieving, to pray for each other even when things are going well, to try to help each other out when we're going through hell, to pass on traditions that we learned from past generations, to fight for each other like we're in special operations, to pick one another up if one of us falls down, to not say something mean so one of us puts on a frown, to look at pictures together of all the old times, to sit together at the fireplace during the cold times. Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind or is forgotten. Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind or is forgotten. Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind or is forgotten. Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind or is forgotten.
Thank you so much, Casey, for sharing that song with us, for sharing your story with us. We wish you the best of luck at the Creative Arts Festival next week. And stick around. We're going to have a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to be talking to Sarah, the art therapist at the West Palm Beach VA. Stick around.
Mom's fall was a wake-up call. We knew she needed help, but we also knew she'd never leave her home.
With jobs and kids, we can't always be there. We weren't sure who to trust to help around the house and make sure she takes her medications.
We did our research and found our answer, Bright Star Care. Their home care teams are led by registered nurses with help available 24/7.
Thanks to Bright Star Care, Mom can stay where she wants to be, at home.
For a standard of care that raises the bar, call 844 for Bright Star.
The Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute is a professional music therapy practice serving medical, community, and educational settings throughout Southeast Florida. With our experienced team of 11 board-certified music therapists, we use music and research-based therapeutic interventions to help individuals of all ages and abilities reach their goals and increase their quality of life. For more information on our services and programs, please visit our website at pbmti.com. Engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call us at 561-747-9944. You are listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. If you'd like to join the conversation, the toll-free number is 888-565-1470. Now back to the show. Hello, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're listening to and watching Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. I'm your host, Bree Beynon, board-certified music therapist here locally with the Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute. And I'm so excited to be talking about another creative arts therapist in our community today, Sarah Windrum. She is a board-certified art therapist and a licensed mental health counselor here locally at the West Palm Beach VA Medical Center. Sarah, are you here with us?
I'm here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to call in tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. My pleasure. I've had the joy of getting to talk to a few art therapists on this show, but I'm sure just like music therapy, everywhere we work is different. All of our experiences are different. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your experience in your setting. So could you tell us just kind of in your own words, how do you define art therapy?
Okay. Well, art therapy is really well defined by the American Art Therapy Association, so I'll lend on their words for today.
Sure.
So art therapy is a mental health profession in which clients, facilitated by the art therapist, use art media, the creative process, and the resulting artwork to explore their feelings, reconcile emotional conflicts, foster self-awareness, manage behavior and addictions, develop social skills, improve reality orientation, reduce anxiety, and also increase self-esteem.
Great. That's a lot of responsibility for you guys. That's incredible work that you do. Can you tell me a little bit about your background and what kind of led you to this field?
Absolutely. So as an undergraduate at Florida State University, I was able to attend a workshop that featured Bob Alt, who was the co-founder of the American Art Therapy Association. And I was really inspired at that workshop. It inspired me to pursue a master's degree in art therapy at FSU. The training, so the graduate coursework and training for art therapy practice requires knowledge of the visual arts like drawing, painting, sculpture, and other art forms, the creative process, human development, psychological and counseling theories and techniques. I maintain credentials as a registered and board-certified art therapist and recently became licensed as a mental health counselor.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How do you find that your credentialing as a licensed mental health counselor plays into your work as an art therapist?
I heard some of your comments earlier in the show, and I'm so glad to hear another professional advocating for the credentialing process. I feel really strongly about having credentialed clinicians and therapists working in the medical center and in other areas. I've also served for the Art Therapy Credentials Board on their International Credentialing Committee and the Registration Standards Committee. So maintaining the quality of services provided by our clinicians is integral for the field.
Absolutely. And again, just to touch back on what in my opening, especially in a setting like you work, with the situations that you're dealing with every day, it's of utmost importance, I imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Tell me a little bit more about your role specifically as a art therapist in the VA setting.
So I'm really lucky. I found a career where I have the opportunity to serve men and women who have served our country. I've been here since 2009 as a creative arts therapist at the West Palm Beach Veteran Affairs Medical Center, where I provide art therapy, yoga, and mindfulness interventions for veterans in all of our mental health areas, the women's health care program, and our community living center, which is our nursing home.
Great. So do you integrate all of those kind of into one program, or are you doing separate groups for yoga and mindfulness and art?
Absolutely. So I work in a lot of different areas here, obviously. I am able to work in several clinics providing separate groups for yoga and art therapy.
That's wonderful. So obviously you're touching on a very holistic approach, and I'm sure you do see some crossover, obviously, especially when maybe approaching a setting where someone's not familiar where what art therapy is, and kind of explaining it. And I mean, again, I can only draw from my experience as a music therapist, and there's a lot of times when we're introducing what music therapy is, and definitely bringing in some of that mindfulness into that as well. When you are kind of introducing it to others, how do you kind of do that? Do you find that there's resistance if people feel like they're not artistic? How do you approach that situation?
I'm sure, like we all do, we have like a 2-sentence introduction about what we do, who we are, and what to expect from that session. And when I'm working with veterans who are reluctant or not sure about the art therapy process, I assure them they do not have to be good artists. They don't have to have any artistic training. I find that, art therapy treatment, similar to a lot of traditional talk therapy, addresses mental health symptoms and recovery. So what I'll tell veterans is this is not an art class. You will not be graded here. Mm-hmm. And I'll remind them that sometimes the veterans who have never engaged in art making in the past seem to benefit the most from art therapy. They're able to trust the process and be a little more open-minded and tend to gain the most insight and self-awareness through art therapy.
Absolutely. What is your background as an artist, I'm guessing?
My undergraduate degree was in art history, and I minored in psychology and communication disorders. So I do have the art background. I feel like I'm a really creative person. I also understand the reluctance of being handed a white sheet of paper and being asked to draw about your feelings. So I think I can connect with a lot of my veterans for that reason.
So what can you tell us some examples of some interventions that you would use in this setting, and how you would implement the art therapy groups?
Sure. So a favorite intervention that I've used within my PTSD art therapy groups is mask making. The process seems to take several sessions, at least 4 sessions with them, which really lends for the veterans to get a lot more invested in their art making. They have more time to think about these things. They're exploring a different media. We use plaster gauze and mask templates, and I'm able to bring in collage materials and paint, and the sky's the limit. So we discuss how masks have been used over time and by various cultures for a lot of different purposes, maybe in ceremony, performance, for concealment or protection, and how masks can sometimes also reveal things about us. So when I use a mask-making intervention with veterans, I tend to leave the directive pretty open-ended, and I'll just suggest that the veterans make a mask depicting some aspect of themselves. And what they produce is often very powerful and rich with therapeutic content.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And for them to be able to kind of reflect on that as well, and that's something that they've themselves created, what a sense of pride I'm sure they must have.
Absolutely. We use a Gestalt therapy approach in presenting them, so it's almost like a dramatic performance. And I have some veterans who have the courage to enter some of their masks for our Creative Arts Festival next week.
That's wonderful, and I look forward to talking a little bit more about that in a minute, and learning about that. And I'm really excited to have the opportunity to be a judge in that next week. So
yeah, thank you for doing that.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for asking me. What an honor. So I'm really excited. And I don't know if you caught in the beginning, we shared Casey's song.
Yeah, so proud of him.
Oh, my
gosh. He's an amazing veteran.
Wow. I'm glad that I listened to that earlier before I came on the show to really be able to kind of process it, but I've had it in my head all day. Like, that's a good song when you hear it once and you're just singing it over and over again. So as I said, good luck to him and to everyone that you've been working with in that. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. We're so lucky as creative arts therapists to be in this job, and it sounds like your path is similar to mine, and many of us, we don't always know about it right away, and we kind of stumble into it, whether it's we hear about it at school, or mine was kind of a Google search. I was applying to schools for a double major in psychology and classical vocal performance. I don't know what I was going to do, be an opera singing psychologist. I have no idea. But in kind of looking for that, I realized music therapy was even an option. So, like I said, we're so lucky to be in this field. What would you say is some of the best parts of your job?
I agree. We are incredibly lucky. I think the best part of my job, especially in using art therapy and having the opportunity to do that with veterans, I'm able to serve people who have served our country and to be witness to their recovery, which is really an incredible honor. Mm-hmm. And then I have the opportunity to use my creativity in my work every day.
Yeah, it's such a gift that we get to, I was talking to someone, I was at the dentist today, and of course, my dentist or dental hygienist had no idea what music therapy was. So I did my elevator speech, as you were mentioning a few moments ago, and she's like, wow, that's amazing. You were able to find something that's exactly what you want to do and what makes you happy. And, even though we realize that, it's kind of neat to hear that coming from someone else, too. It makes you think what a gift that is, and that we are able to share that with others. And sometimes I think we feel like, come home at the end of the day and we've gotten as much as we've given just by the energy and the creativity we've received back. So,
yeah,
it's
absolutely. Those are the best moments in my job here, the ones where I'm interacting with veterans and I'm seeing what they're doing in their recovery. Mm-hmm. And I'm often very humbled by that. I tell my veterans, I can come in here with ideas, with different techniques, with different things for you to do, but it's where you take it as individuals and as a group that makes these things meaningful, and they always rise to that occasion. They're incredible.
For sure. I talked about it a little bit in my opening, but I wonder if you could speak to some of the populations, the diagnoses that you work with within the VA Medical Center.
Okay. Since I work primarily in mental health, I do work with a lot of veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder, people who've experienced various types of trauma, be it from combat or sexual trauma or other types of traumatic experiences a person can go through. I see a lot of veterans dealing with depression, some of the major mental health issues like bipolar disorder, some schizophrenia, adjustment disorders, and substance abuse as well.
Okay. And you mentioned a few times earlier, and it's very clear in the way that you speak, just how much respect you have for those that you work with, which is so important and so wonderful to hear. Do you have a personal connection to the military, or was this just kind of a job that you came into?
I did not serve in the military. My grandfathers both served in World War II, and I just feel like I have a tremendous respect for people who do respond to that call to serve our country.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you ever have individuals that you work with who maybe had a history with art that maybe they hadn't explored in a little while?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have, and that can happen a lot of time when life gets in the way, when these experiences happen for people, when problems with substance abuse are going on. We get away from those things that are meaningful, are important for us. And creativity, music, art, drawing, writing, any of these things, some people get away from that and they forget how nourishing, how healing, how expressive these things can be for them.
Absolutely. I love how you worded that. We worked, I interviewed last week one of our music therapists who works specifically in addiction recovery, and we talked a lot about that, how people get away from music making or their creative expression, and how having these services be an opportunity for them to reignite that spark, and how they can take that with them outside of the therapeutic session as well, because as a therapist, that's what we're looking for. It's wonderful what we do in the session, but how does that carry on outside the session as well?
Absolutely. We talk about recovery here and what recovery means for people, and it is reconnecting with those things that are meaningful in their lives, and that's patient-centered care. It's about what is interesting for the veterans and what they want to pursue, and a lot of that has to do with coming back to those things that used to be enjoyable for them, finding ways to do those again in a comfortable way, finding ways to do those things sober.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's wonderful. We're going to cut to a really quick commercial break. Stay on the line. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the National Veterans Creative Arts Festival being held in West Palm Beach next week. Stick around.
Mom's fall was a wake-up call. We knew she needed help, but we also knew she'd never leave her home.
With jobs and kids, we can't always be there. We weren't sure who to trust to help around the house and make sure she takes her medications.
We did our research and found our answer, Bright Star Care. Their home care teams are led by registered nurses, with help available 24/7.
Thanks to Bright Star Care, Mom can stay where she wants to be, at home.
For a standard of care that raises the bar, call 844 for Bright Star.
The Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute is a professional music therapy practice serving medical, community, and educational settings throughout Southeast Florida. With our experienced team of 11 board-certified music therapists, we use music and research-based therapeutic interventions to help individuals of all ages and abilities reach their goals and increase their quality of life. For more information on our services and programs, please visit our website at pbmti.com. Engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call us at 561-747-9944. You are listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. If you'd like to join the conversation, the toll-free number is 888-565-1470. Now back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. You're listening to and watching Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. I'm your host, Bree Beynon, and tonight we're talking to local board-certified art therapist and licensed mental health counselor, Sarah Windrum, who works locally at the West Palm Beach Veterans Affairs Medical Center. She's talking to us about her position there as an art therapist, the programs that she runs, not only art therapy, but also yoga and mindfulness. And we're really excited, Sarah, to learn more about this National Veterans Creative Arts Festival coming up next week, right?
Excellent. Yeah, it's next Tuesday, March 8th.
That's great. And this is a national thing, right? Well, that's in the title, but it's happening at VA centers all over the country?
Yes. So across the country each year, veterans who are enrolled in VA healthcare facilities can compete in the local Veterans Creative Arts Competition, which is what we're hosting here next Tuesday. The competition includes 51 categories in the visual arts division that range from things like oil painting to leatherwork and paint-by-number kits. In addition, there's categories for creative writing, dance, drama, and music. The Veterans Creative Arts Festival is a national event that is put on by the Department of Veteran Affairs and the American Legion Auxiliary.
Wonderful. So is this just for veterans that have been associated with your facility, or is it from all over the region that are coming to participate in the West Palm Beach
For
Festival?
our local Veterans Creative Arts Festival, they have to be enrolled for healthcare at our medical center or in our catchment area. So it does encompass a pretty wide range of veterans. But every VA medical center has the opportunity to host a local show.
Oh, great. What is your service area for the West Palm Beach Center?
I might have to get back to you on the specifics of that,
Sure.
but generally we serve about an 8-county area,
Okay.
so ranging all the way out to Hendry County, Palm Beach County, of course, Martin County, Port St. Lucie, Indian River County.
Okay, great. And there's a medical center in Miami, as well as there also one in Broward?
So Miami VA is the healthcare system, and Broward County residents would fall under the Miami VA Medical Center.
Oh, okay, great. So 51 different categories. That's amazing. Is this something that you and Shoshana and your team are working with veterans on these projects, or are they more independent?
Both. So the veteran that you heard from earlier, we have worked with before, but a lot of the people who come out for this Creative Arts Festival do these things independently. Some of them are done in some of our therapeutic programs, or it's veterans that we know that also are doing some art or music on the side and then come in for the festival.
And are they all individual entries or some group projects?
So this year, so far all of our submissions and entries are individuals. We have had some groups before. We have the Tone Chime group that Shoshana facilitates, and they've entered their work before.
Oh, great. That's great. So how do you find that this festival benefits those that do participate?
So the annual competition is able to recognize the progress and recovery made through the creative arts. So it's an opportunity to raise the visibility of creative arts achievements for our nation's veterans after things like disease, disability, and other life issues that can come up. So if they're participating, whether it be displaying their artwork or maybe performing an original song, can be a very empowering experience for those veterans.
Absolutely. It makes complete sense. And again, how amazing that the VA system recognizes that and the impact that the arts have. Again, this is something that I'm sure you and Shoshana and those that work in your department are witnessing every day. But to really be able to track that, that's a really awesome opportunity.
And to give those veterans a chance to show publicly what they're doing and to have those proud moments.
For
really
sure.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So is this those that are currently in programs, is it inpatient and outpatient? Again, I know you said it was everyone who's been registered in the system that year, so it's just all of the departments can be involved in that?
Yes, they could be inpatient or outpatient, absolutely.
Okay, that's
and we have
great.
some entries from both.
And this is something you all have been involved in for a few years, right?
Yeah, and each year we've seen the show grow exponentially. We have a lot of artwork still coming in these last few days for submission. We have a lot of very talented musicians and creative writers. So we're definitely seeing the show grow each year.
About how many people participate?
Last year we had about 30,
Okay.
and I haven't seen the numbers for this year, but I'm surrounded by beautiful paintings and sculptures and videos of veterans performing their music.
That's great. And so where does this is this get exposed to the community at all, or is it really more of an internal for the veterans to see each other's work and to be judged, or does it ever go out to the community?
We're definitely welcoming the community. I think it's a great opportunity to come into the medical center and see a little bit about some of these special programs that we do offer for our veterans and some of the talents that are present here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Is there a way that people can find out, and I'll repeat this again a little bit later, just as people kind of tune in, whether on their drive home or eating dinner, whatever it is, but is there a way that people can reach out to either yourself or your department to find out more information about this, or maybe how they could be involved in future years?
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you that our local level competition is next week on Tuesday, March 8th, and that'll be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's going to be in our main atrium at the West Palm Beach VA Medical Center. So that's located at 7305 North Military Trail in West Palm Beach. And like I said, the community is very welcome to come in, see the veterans' artwork, creative writing, videotapes for the performing arts entries. And if you'd like to contact us, we'd love that. For more information, you can contact myself, Sarah Windrum, the art therapist. My number is 561-662-2254, or they can contact my coworker, Shoshana Orajano, or a board-certified music therapist at 561-951-2026.
I love that. I didn't realize that it was open to the community. So what a great opportunity to be. I just was so neat to learn that this was even going on, and so I hope people take advantage of learning more about that. So you mentioned a little bit about how it's kind of displayed. Is there live music also being performed, or is it more recorded at that point?
We're really lucky to have an excellent medical media team who handles the videotaping for all of our performing arts categories. So that would include drama, dance, and music. So we've had dates where we brought veterans in to record their music entries earlier in the month, last month, and we have medical media make the sound perfect, the lighting. They get a couple takes. So it also helps the veterans be more comfortable than
Sure.
performing on the spot and only getting one chance at it.
What was that experience like, observing that? I mean, that seems something very out of the norm for most people to have all of that. Were they receptive to it? Were they excited about it?
I saw a lot of our veterans feel very excited and feel like a big deal coming in and having that treatment and knowing that they would have a professional representation of themselves out there. And then we also give the veterans a DVD copy of their performance that's professionally done, and they're able to take that home to their families and friends and show off how great they are.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible. I love it. Probably the biggest thing that the only thing I'm worried about is how I will possibly select my favorites next week. So
That's why we're leaving it to you.
oh dear. So how does that process work for everyone to know, but also for myself? How are the winners selected?
You won't be alone.
Okay.
We have established a panel of special guest judges, including yourself. We also have a Salvation Army chaplain who's a visual artist. We've invited an art therapist and a veteran who's the coordinator of Peer Place, which is a community-based mental health drop-in center. So that's our judging panel. The judges are going to choose their first place for each category. So say your first place for oil painting, your first place for solo original music performance. And each of the categories, you'll choose your first place winner. Those winners we would send on to the national level for consideration. And then the national show takes place in Jackson, Mississippi this October.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. It's going to be
pressure,
tough.
Right?
What's that?
No pressure.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to just take it all in and really get the opportunity to learn about people through that. Because what better way than through their creative expression? And again, so honored that I was asked to be a part of it. It's really a really neat program. Are there any other upcoming veterans events that are also utilizing the creative process in recovery?
Absolutely. We have this year, we're looking at the 5th year that the West Palm Beach VA will be taking part in what's called the National Military Sexual Trauma Clothesline Project. So this is an annual awareness event. It takes place in April, which coincides with Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So we invite males and female veterans who have experienced military sexual trauma, which could range from sexual harassment to assault, and we have them come in and give them the opportunity to create artwork about their recovery on a T-shirt. The T-shirts are then hung together, and for the viewer, it would visually represent someone standing before you who's experienced military sexual trauma, or MST. And I can say during our first clothesline project, we proudly displayed 13 shirts that were made by our veterans. And last year, we had over 150 in the display.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Is that something that's specific to our local center? Is that, and I'm sorry if he's mentioned this earlier, is that a national project?
It's a national project, and we host our own here at West Palm Beach, and I have the dates for that if people are interested in coming to see that. The display is held from April 18th to the 22nd, and that'll also be in our main atrium at the VA Medical Center from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. each day.
Okay, wonderful. So great that these are open to the community to experience. One question I wanted to ask you about that, knowing just the nature of discussing any sexual trauma that you've been through, it's such a sensitive topic, obviously it's such a private topic. How do you reach out to individuals to let them know about a program like this?
Well, we have a military sexual trauma support team here that has extra training to handle these type of things. Something else we do during the Clothesline Project, and the theme for this year is Recovery from Military Sexual Trauma, Strength and Community. We have VA staff there who are making people aware of VA services that are available for them. We have community people come in, so people are aware of some more community resource. And we also, like I'm saying, staff it with some VA mental health professionals who can be available to talk about anything that is coming up for people.
For sure. Absolutely. Are you a part of that as being the resident art therapist?
Absolutely. I co-coordinate this with our MST coordinator here.
Okay. That's great. Well, community, as we've mentioned already a few times, how important that is to feel that support. And again, not just kind of being on, your own little island in what you're going through, which is so easy to feel that way, but knowing that others are here to support you. That's a beautiful program. We're going to cut to another quick commercial break. When we come back, I want you to share with us again how we can get in touch with some of these programs that are going on and maybe learn a little bit more about some specific things that you've done with clients, some of your favorite stories. So stick around for this quick break. We'll be right back.
Mom's fall was a wake-up call. We knew she needed help, but we also knew she'd never leave her home.
With jobs and kids, we can't always be there. We weren't sure who to trust to help around the house and make sure she takes her medications.
We did our research and found our answer, Bright Star Care. Their home care teams are led by registered nurses, with help available 24/7.
Thanks to Bright Star Care, Mom can stay where she wants to be, at home.
For a standard of care that raises the bar, call 844 for Bright Star.
The Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute is a professional music therapy practice serving medical, community, and educational settings throughout Southeast Florida. With our experienced team of 11 board-certified music therapists, we use music and research-based therapeutic interventions to help individuals of all ages and abilities reach their goals and increase their quality of life. For more information on our services and programs, please visit our website at pbmti.com. Engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call us at 561-747-9944. You are listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. If you'd like to join the conversation, the toll-free number is 888-565-1470. Now back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're listening to and watching Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. I'm your host, Bree Beynon, board-certified music therapist with the Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute. And tonight I've been talking to local art therapist Sarah Windrum here at the West Palm Beach VA Medical Center. Thank you again, Sarah, so much for taking the time to talk with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. I've really enjoyed learning more specifically about your role at the VA and how some of the programs that you work, not only art therapy, but also mindfulness and yoga, are such an important and integral part of the recovery process, as you mentioned, and just that honor and respect that you feel for having the opportunity to work with these individuals. It really comes through with what you're sharing. I know you shared it a little earlier, but if you wouldn't mind, just one more time, if anyone wants to reach out to either you or the VA to get any more information on your programs or about the Creative Arts Festival that's coming up next week, how can people get more information on that?
So I can give you the main phone number here at the Medical Center for just general questions about VA healthcare, and that number is 561-422-8262. If you'd like to reach one of us Creative Arts therapists, you can call me, Sarah, the art therapist, at 561-662-2254. And we also have board-certified music therapist Shoshana Orejano, and she can be reached at 561-951-2026.
And we had Shoshana on the show a few months ago. She was sharing, just some amazing stories about working with clients and how specifically some interventions that she was using with music to really tap into some experiences that individuals were having. We talked a lot about how music can really awaken some of these memories and emotions that sometimes other things cannot, and how to handle that, how to process through that, especially in this setting that you all work. What are some moments that come to mind for you, if you don't mind sharing, where you really had a really powerful breakthrough in an art therapy session?
Okay, I can maybe talk about a group intervention that I've used in a mental health group. So this would be from our PRRC, which is our Psychosocial Rehabilitation and Recovery Center. So we're dealing with veterans with some real mental health issues who are involved in recovery and whatever recovery means for them. So something I've done with them, I had each of the veterans in the group draw a road, and we talked about metaphors of roads and what roads could mean, and of course they volunteer ideas about songs that have the word road in it, because a lot of them think creatively in that way too. So they draw a road going from one side of their paper to the other side of the paper, and then as a group I have them work together to tape these up on the wall and to form one whole road, so one road to represent their group. And then we sit back and talk about what each of their roads represented and what that process was like to see their individual roads, so their individual stories, represented, and then collaborated with other people's to realize things like you're not alone. And though we all had different paths to get where we are, we're still on that same journey together of recovery. And it can be a really powerful thing and really demonstrate some cohesion in the group.
Absolutely. I imagine that's probably one of your bigger group goals is that cohesion. I know that music therapy, we work on that a lot, especially in addiction recovery. Do you ever have the opportunity to work with music therapy and kind of co-treat music and art together?
That is one of Shoshana and my favorite things to do.
Great.
Combining the music and art therapy, because we really reach a lot of veterans that way. Sometimes we're able to do that specifically around some of our bigger times of the year here. Around Veterans Day, we try to collaborate and incorporate music therapy and art therapy into the same session. Memorial Day, we've done some things together that way. Those tend to be tougher times for some of our veterans around
Absolutely.
those anniversaries, around those special dates.
That makes sense for sure. What would that look like? Just an example of art and music being used in a collaborative setting together.
So I've actually used that same directive about talking about roads, about using that metaphor of journeys, about the path that we're on, about where we are and where we're trying to get, where we've been and where we are today, and those kind of things. And Shoshana was able to bring in a song that tied in perfectly. And we're so in tuned as colleagues and as creative arts therapists that I can give her an idea or she can bring up an idea, and we can quickly think, oh, yeah, we can use this song, or we can use, this drawing technique or this approach to address that with the veterans. And I think it really is a way to collaborate. And if somebody isn't really connecting so much on the music part, maybe the art part helps them gain more insight, or vice versa.
Definitely, and how important to have that connection on a professional level as well.
I'm able to work with some wonderful clinicians here. Shoshana, a lot of the mental health teams I work on, I have such great respect for my colleagues.
What are some of the other disciplines that you get the opportunity to co-treat with?
So I work on some really high-performing teams here, like the PTSD clinic, the substance abuse clinic, our inpatient mental health team. So those are really collaborative teams where we have regular treatment teams. We're staffing patients. We're looking for ideas. We're talking about how we can best serve these individuals. So I work with some addictions therapists, psychiatrists, mental health counselors, social workers, psychologists, everything.
And it only makes what we do stronger when we have that treatment team approach, that interdisciplinary approach, and also be able to build that rapport with other disciplines and be on that same page. So again, I'm just as I was when I spoke with Shoshana, I'm so impressed with the way that creative arts therapies are embraced, supported, and celebrated in this setting, and the good work that you all do. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to share all of that with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. One more quick thing before we wrap up, and I'm going to finish with a song here, patriotic, to kind of fit our theme today. But just one more time, if you could let us know the details, the date and address for the Creative Arts Therapy Festival happening next week.
We'd love to welcome anyone to come out and see the talent that our veterans have and to see their artwork and music displayed here. So that'll be Tuesday, March 8th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the main atrium of the West Palm Beach VA. Location is 7305 North Military Trail.
Beautiful. I look forward to it and hopefully get a chance to meet you in person there. And thank you in person for taking the time to come out tonight. So again, Sarah, have a wonderful night, and thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Bree.
Absolutely. My pleasure. We're just going to finish up tonight with one of my favorite patriotic songs. And again, just to pay respect to all those who are serving our country, who have served. And good luck to all those competing in the Creative Arts Festival happening at the VA. If you're in the community and you happen to be available next Tuesday, I hope you'll take the time to stop by in West Palm Beach and check out the amazing artwork, music, dance that's going to be displayed. I'm really excited to be there and be a part of it. So finish up with America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple purple mountains' majesty, above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You've been listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. Look forward to seeing you all again next week. Have a wonderful week. Good night. Thank you for listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. We hope you enjoyed today's program and discovered new ways to bring music, art, and dance into your home or workplace. Please find a copy of today's show at pbmti.com. If you have any questions for our guest or myself, please email me at Bree, that's BREE, at pbmti.com, or call the Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute at 561-747-9944. Tune back in next week for an all-new live show. See you then.
The opinions expressed